What if you didn't have to be a marketer to be brilliant at marketing? Hey you, I'm Sarah Grace, CEO of Victress Global. Look, the world is marketing to women using masculine strategies, and it does not work. Using my unique V2 marketing system, I've been able to help so many entrepreneurs escape slimy, salesy marketing strategies, spend less time at the computer, and grow their businesses in a way that lets them take Fridays off. No joke. So stick around. I'll make sure you know exactly how to tackle marketing in a way that feels awesome. And P.S. Some of these episodes come from live trainings inside my private Facebook group. Search for V2 Marketing on Facebook, and you can join me live every single week. Let's rock and roll. Welcome to V2 Marketing. I'm super glad that you're here. This is Sarah Grace. I am the CEO of Victress Global and thrilled to be able to connect with you today about something that is going to simplify your whole social media world. Are you ready to simplify your whole social media world? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about why this is so critical to understand call to actions, because there's probably two kinds of people in this room right now, unless you know what it is I'm about to talk about, okay? And if you are chiming in here on the podcast or whether you're here live, I want you to just take into account what kind of person you are, okay? You are most likely an entrepreneur that has a business and you're using social media or email in a way to nurture and to generate traffic and to connect with people and do all that really great stuff. But my guess is that you are one of two people. Number one, you are the person who asks people to buy all the time or to do nothing at all, right? So it's sort of like, oh, I've got a launch coming up, or oh, I've got a sale coming up. And it's like, buy, 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 buy. And then it's crickets and you don't do anything else other than asking your audience to buy. Anybody been guilty of that? Okay, welcome to my first 8 years in business. Is I was like the spam queen of really only sending emails when I was selling something and really only posting on social media when I was hoping people would buy my product, and like the queen of spam. That is not what I want to be known for, okay? But it really, really wasn't working in the way that I thought, because I didn't know what the three kinds of call to actions are, which is exactly what we're going to talk about today. And whether you're listening on the podcast or whether you're here live in the Facebook group, my guess is that that might be you, okay? You are either the person that is asking people to buy all the time or do nothing at all, or you are the other person. And the other person is the person who just doesn't want to bug anybody to do anything. Do either of those explanations mean anything to anybody here in this room? Okay. Where we are kind of in this scenario where it's like, they probably know that I sell baby bottles. They probably know that I'm a coach. They probably know that I have this program out there, and I just don't want to bug anybody. And I think it's come from this experience in which we open our Gmail every morning and we've got a promotions tab that has 70 messages in it that we don't have any kind of interest in. And we're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that person. So when I look at my own entrepreneurial journey, I look at myself that I have been kind of a mix of the two. I've been really good at really communicating what I'm selling during a launch. And I've also been really good at falling victim to the I don't want to tell anybody anything what I do, because really, if they want to work with me, they're going to go find what I do and they're going to find my programs and they're just going to buy it. And the reality is that is not reality. Okay. The reality is that is not reality. People are not going to just assume and dive into your business and buy your stuff unless there is strategy behind it, which is kind of painful. Okay. Especially with this kind of crowd that we're talking in. You probably have a product or a service or a coaching or something that you are doing that means a lot to you. And so the fact that sales are low or people aren't going in and buying your product, it's a personal thing. It can feel very much like a personal thing. So I understand that it can feel that way. So the question is, how do we find this balance on being able to use the brilliance of social media and email to connect with our people and also build a business? And also make sales. Is there a possible balance that we can have happen in between those two things? Okay, where I'm connecting with my people and I'm making money at the same time. Can it happen? It absolutely can. And I will tell you, it is taking the middle road. Meaning, if you are the person that is really good at telling people to buy when you're launching, It's not going to work for you if you're like Miss Spam, which is what I was for like 10 years of business. Really good. Nice job, Sarah. Okay. Or if you're the other person that simply asks nobody to do anything ever, we got to find the middle road. And that, luckily, is what these 3 call to actions are all about, is to give you a framework and a system where you can literally go into your social media today and you can say, I know exactly which of the 3 types of call to actions I should use today. Or you're going to go into an email and to nurture your list, and you're going to say, oh, I know which of the 3 calls to action I'm going to use today in order to make that happen. Okay. So that's exactly what we're going to dive into. So the goal for the end of the day is for you to actually be able to plan the next week of your social media and or email / other platforms with call to actions, that you can actually write them down and say, okay, this is what I can say on a Thursday. This is what I can say on Friday. This is what I'm going to say on Monday. And you'll be able to kind of cater that to your business here. So let's dive into what these call to actions are. Now that we know that they're crazy important, let's reaffirm why you cannot stay in the camp of being silent. Okay. Why can we not stay in the camp of being silent about like what we actually offer as entrepreneurs? Because the reason you are in this room or on this podcast is because you sell something. You actually sell something. But my guess is you're also here because you're like, I don't want to sell something all the time, Sarah. And I'm like, oh, amen. You are my people. You are my people. So how do we do that? Well, I first want to introduce you to the amazing work of Clayton Christensen. Okay. He is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which I am also a member of. He has since passed away, and he is a brilliant business genius. I mean, just one of the best like business management gurus ever. And you can read a lot about his businesses and his business expertise. He also happens to be a member of my faith, and he wrote a book called The Power of Everyday Missionaries. And regardless if you are a member of my faith or if you are trying to start a movement of any kind and connect with like a really amazing tribe of people, this should be required reading for every single entrepreneur on how you literally, I'm doing air quotes for those of you listening on the podcast, how do you literally convert people to your cause or your business or your movement? It is in the words of this book called The Power of Everyday Missionaries by Clayton Christensen. So something that I learned in there that has since evolved as I've dove deeper into the business world is years ago I was reading it, and he was talking about how our church had done a study, and they had done a very, very interesting study about what it takes to get someone who's like on the street and like living a normal life, has their own kind of personal religious beliefs, what kind of interactions or steps need to happen in order for that person to actually step foot inside a church of our faith. Basically, what does it take to actually get someone to take action? You can see how this is related, to take action with an organization that they are largely unfamiliar with. So they went and did this kind of study, and it was an incredible study, but here is where this is why you're going to realize it's not okay to sit in the silent camp of call to actions, meaning never asking anybody to do anything. What they found is that it took 7 positive interactions with 7 different members of my faith before that one person that they met on the street or at the grocery store or at a ball game would ever even step foot inside a church house of ours, let alone be baptized, or let alone make any kind of actual conversion to our faith. And I thought that was so fascinating. I'm like, oh my gosh, 7. And what it did for me as a member of my own faith is it actually took the pressure off a little bit, that my goal when I interact with the world is not actually to convert people to my faith. It is to be a great example of my faith and hope I can be one of those 7 people that would allow them to feel close to the Savior Jesus Christ while being around me or while interacting with me. And so it kind of took the pressure off, which is kind of cool. And this is sort of my end goal for you, is that it takes the pressure off of selling, and it takes the pressure off of like complicated call to actions. Like this should not be a stopping point for you. And after today, it should not be a stopping point for you. So let's get that clarified. Now, so Clayton Christensen gives us this great tool that, okay, there's supposed to be 7 positive interactions to take someone that is unfamiliar with your cause or your brand or your company, for them to even step foot and interact with you as a person, you as a brand, you as a church, you as a company, you as a product. Okay. So 7 positive interactions. Well, that better mean that we are putting our message out there on social media and are trying to invite people to be part of it, right? One of the things that I hear all the time from my one-on-one clients is like, well, yeah, I mentioned to people I have this thing and I put it out there a couple of times and people didn't really say anything and I don't want to bug anybody. So that's the big sign of like the person who's like leaning towards being the silent call to action person, which is like the no call to action person. Okay. I want you to imagine a couple of things. Number one, your Instagram feed, for example. Probably less than 10% of people that are your followers are actually seeing what you're posting. So if you are only posting once a month about the thing that you sell, 10% of those people are going to see it. And unless those 10% of people have had 7 or more positive interactions with you, your chances of them acting on what you're asking them to do is really, really slim. Okay. And that might just throw an entrepreneur into total despair looking at those kinds of numbers if you're a number person. Luckily, there is hope. Okay. Allow the fact that only 10% or less of your feed is seeing your feed motivate you to ask and post more. That is the way that you are going to reach those other 90% that are not seeing your posts all the time. This is why stories are effective. This is why reels are effective. This is why posting consistently and using these 3 kind of call to actions that we're going to talk about today are so important. Is my goal is to help you set up multiple calls to action over the next 7 days so that you can get your people to see your product, your service, what you're all about, your message and your brand to those 7 interactions as fast as possible. If you post with no kind of call to action, it's not going to count as one of those interactions there with your business, right? And we are trying to get to 7 or beyond as fast as we can so that we can follow the rules that Clayton Christensen, the brilliant business mind, taught us on how do we get people to become more loyal to our brand. Well, they need to be invited over and over and over and over again in a positive, beautiful way. So let's dive into how do we get those people to 7 or more positive interactions as fast as possible. Here's how we do it. We break it into 3 calls to action. Okay. And I'm good for those of you watching the video, I'm going to go ahead and write these on sticky notes so that you can see them. Okay. The 3 kinds of call to actions actually create an acronym. Okay. Because let's just make it fancy so all of us can remember. Okay. So the acronym for the 3 call to actions is BEG. It's BEG, which I think is the most appropriate call to action to teach about call to actions because most of us feel like when we are trying to sell, we feel like we're begging. And that's not what we want to do. So this is actually like the anti-beg call to action plan by using the acronym BEG, B-E-G, to help us remember what those call to actions are. Okay? So the very, very first call to action that we can invite people to be part of our business is the easiest one to remember. And it's the one that all of us are the least comfortable with. Okay. And that is to buy. So the B in beg, the first call to action type is a buy call to action. Buy my book, buy my program, join my coaching group, whatever that can be. Anytime that you are asking them to give you money in exchange for one of your services or products, that is a buy call to action. It doesn't need to be fancy. Buy my book. Okay, grab my book. Don't say live the life of your dreams and go here. Okay, just tell them to buy. Just tell them to buy. It's not as offensive of a word as you may think about it. Don't overthink it. Okay, buy my book, buy my program, join my group, whatever you're going to do, buy. Anytime that you are asking them to give you money in exchange for a service, you are using the very, very first type of call to action, which is buy. Fabulous. That is a totally valid call to action. Okay, wonderful. Second kind of call to action starts with an E. Okay, the second kind of call to action is called engage. Okay. This is when you are on any kind of platform. I am talking email, I am talking podcasts, I am talking Instagram, I am talking Facebook group, I am talking TikTok, I am talking Snapchat, whatever you are using to grow your business, you are not exempt from any of these call to actions. They all work effectively across all platforms, okay? So the second kind of call to action is engage. And this is simply when you are inviting them to respond to you. It is literally you engaging one with another in a conversation. So when people first join my email list, I tell them a story about kind of why I started a business. And then I ask a question. I said, respond to this email and tell me why you feel driven to start a business. Okay, that is an engage call to action. That means you've received an email from me, or you've seen a post from me, or you've seen a reel from me, or you've listened to a podcast from me, and I'm asking you to respond and give me your kind of opinion. Anytime you see social media influencers that are like, what is your favorite boot for winter? And I can say that right now because it's snowing in April in northern Utah. Okay. What is your favorite pair of boots for winter? What is that going to be? That is an engagement call to action. This helps you navigate the algorithm on Instagram. This helps your email list feel more personal and will increase your email score so that you have better deliverability things. If people are responding to it and they're working with you, it's just a way for you to interact. Okay. Engage. This is the one that when you are doing personal posts is going to be the easiest one to post because it's really no pressure. Okay. If you're asking someone a question that is intriguing enough to them, they will respond. And that's considered to be the second type of call to action, which is called engage. Okay. So let's talk about the third call to action. The third call to action. And this is the one that I feel like gets lost in the weeds a little bit, and yet it's a really, really powerful foundation of any business that is striving to increase revenue and interaction and loyalty within their brand. And it's one of those that it's not hard to do. We just forget to do it. We forget to do it. Okay. So the third type of call to action is called grow. Okay. So first type is buy. Second type is engage. Third type of call to action is grow. A grow call to action is when you approach your audience and you tell them in a way, you say, follow me on Instagram, subscribe to me on YouTube, right? Subscribe to my channel on YouTube, or join my email list. Okay. Those are grow call to actions. And the reason that those are really, really important is because their purpose is to transform your traffic source, like your podcast listeners and your Facebook followers and your Instagram followers and your Facebook group members. Its goal is to transfer people from one platform to another. Okay. So if you are on your podcast, you may say at the very end, if you love this podcast, I know you would love the daily tips that I post on Instagram. Follow me at Sarah Grace Live, etc., etc. That is considered a grow call to action. Now, what constitutes a grow to action? Does that just mean we're pushing people in between platforms? Yeah, kind of, sort of, maybe. But the definition of it really is that when you are using a grow call to action, you are actually asking them to build numbers in your business. That's how you determine if it's a grow call to action. So if I'm saying follow me on Instagram, I am growing my Instagram followers by asking them to do that. If I'm saying rate my podcast, I am growing the number of reviews there on my podcast. If I am asking someone to join my email list and download my free training, then they are growing my email list. And that is the third type of call to action, is going to be grow. How am I going to grow things? Okay. And I think that this is such a brilliant opportunity for those of you who feel really, really scared of call to actions because you feel like there's only one type of call to action, and that's to buy. I think what it gives you is an opportunity to actually feel like there is strategy behind what you're doing. Because if our goal is to be like that first person we talked about, to be the person who is spammy Sarah, that was like 10 years ago, right? That if she dives in and asks people to buy all the time, it reeks of desperation. It reeks of like not planning ahead, okay? Because I wasn't ever emailing them unless I was selling something. Like, it reeks of things you don't want your brand to smell like, right? So this gives you an opportunity to feel like, oh my gosh, there's actually a strategy behind the fact that I am asking someone what their favorite business book is right now that they're reading. There is strategy behind that because I know that that is an engagement call to action. And it takes the pressure off for you to feel like, I don't need to ask them to buy today. I'm going to ask them to buy in a couple of days, but I don't need to do it today. This is great. There are 3 kinds of call to actions. And my goal is to help take that stress off of you. So the question is going to come, okay? Let's review. The question is going to come, do I just cycle through them? Do I just say, BEG, 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 with the three kinds of call to actions across my platforms, and then I'm cycling through them evenly. And here is the bottom line answer. It depends. And don't you hate answers like that? Okay, kind of hate answers like that. But that's the reality. It kind of depends, because the reality is that it depends on a little bit about how your business runs. Okay, you can't ask people to buy something every 3 days if your thing is only offered twice a year. Right? So this is when you get to put your entrepreneur eyes and say, okay, what is the principle that Sarah is teaching me here as part of this training about the 3 types of call to actions, and how does it fit into my existing business? What tweaks can I make? What improvements can I make in order to increase the amount of people that are engaging in my business, the amount of people that are growing my following on my business, the amount of people that are buying products in my business? What kind of tweaks can I make based upon the principles that Sarah is teaching me right now? That is your invitation. So if I were to give you like 30 seconds, okay? And if you're listening on the podcast, you can certainly pause this, but if I were to give you 30 seconds, do you think that you could write down the next 7 days of call to action? Do you think you could do it? Okay. Do you think you could do it? Here's how I would do it. So I only have a couple of products that are offered all the time. My biggest programs kind of are offered twice a year. And so I don't do a ton of selling on Instagram because of that. And so because of that, I do a lot of engagement and growth, engagement and growth, engagement and growth. Okay. And if I have a product that's available that I'm excited to talk about and it makes sense, I will throw in about 1 buy call to action per week. Okay. I'll put up like a testimonial of somebody who's taken the content machine, and I'll say, awesome, here it is. Here's where you can buy it. Buy the content machine now, right? I can throw that in there. But the reality is most of my interactions on Instagram and social media platforms are are engage, grow, engage, grow, engage, grow, engage, grow. And then when we do sell something, we hit it really hard. But we feel good about that because it's part of the overall strategy, where we can then dive back into engagement and growth, engagement and growth, engagement and growth when we're not actually in the middle of a launch season. So I want you to just take note of which call to action do you feel like you have avoided the very most in your business? Which call to action have you avoided the very most in your business? The buy call to action, the engage call to action, or the grow call to action? Because here is your opportunity. My guess is you could take 30 seconds and pause the podcast, and you could write the next 7 days of call to actions and try to put in that sticky call to action of yours. Okay? Try and put it in there. Try and slip it in there. It will become a skill for you to learn how to be brave enough to talk about the buy call to action, to learn how to invite people. Because here's the deal. Here's the real scary deal, and I'm going to talk really quiet because I'm not sure a lot of people will tell you about this, okay? In the world of marketing, marketing is not something that you learn. It is something that you actively do. And when you put out your first buy call to action in the next 7 days, which is going to be my push for you, you're going to put out a buy call to action, and guess what? Someone may not buy your product. In fact, it may be your lowest engagement Instagram post that you've ever had. And you're going to come back and you're say, Sarah, you're a liar. Oh my gosh, none of it works. This is garbage. I'm leaving. You're going to be so mad. The reality is when you do a buy call to action and nobody buys, it is just as valuable in the marketing world as it is when you post and someone does buy. Marketing is acquired. You becoming a marketer is acquired by you actually getting out there and marketing and learning what people respond to. Bottom line. So don't be afraid to do it. There is no right way to ask someone to buy. Okay? There's only a way that works really well with your audience. And guess who's the best person to figure it out? Not me. You! Lucky! It is in your power to be able to figure that out. So over your next 7 days, I want to really, really push you to be able to put in that call to action that you have avoided the very, very, very most. That is the task. Over the next 7 days, do it. And if nobody engages, if your numbers don't grow, if nobody buys, take note of it. say, I wonder why nobody bought this. I wonder what they perceive about this. Oh, I wonder why they didn't answer this question. Oh, I wonder what it is. And you will then become the actual expert of your business, because you are. You are the CEO. You are the director of it. Whatever fancy title you want to give yourself, you are the best one to figure out what helps your people make the decision to buy, what helps your people make the decision to follow you, what helps your people make the decision to engage with you over and over and over again. So that is your task for today. The 3 types of call to actions, here they are. It's the BEG, the BEG acronym. We are no longer begging for sales. We are going to go about this strategically. We either ask them to buy, we ask them to engage, or we ask them to help us grow our following. Those are the 3 types. Your task for this week is to dive in over the next 7 days, plan your call to actions, and especially put in a call to action that you know you have specifically been avoiding. If you would love some accountability along the way, I would invite you to be part of the V2 Marketing Facebook group, where you can find a link at the end of the show notes for the podcast, and you can join us here and check in and say, I did my scary call to action and here's what happened, and we would love to cheer you in as part of the process. Love being with you today. Thank you so much for joining us for the 3 types of calls to actions, when and where to use them, and nope, they're not all buy. Aren't we so grateful for that? So grateful for that. Happy April, everybody. Hope everybody has a marvelous Easter. I'm super grateful that you've joined me live, and I will catch everybody on the other side. Thanks so much. Thanks for being part of Victress Global. If learning to be brilliant at marketing, a 12-hour work week, Fridays off, a commitment to family, faith, and business is what you're aiming for, I'd like to personally invite you to meet other V2 marketers just like you. Search for V2 Marketing on Facebook and join us for live trainings every single week. As always, if you love what you learned here, share it. This podcast is possible because of awesome entrepreneurs like you.